Compared to each of the protagonists within the Drakengard and Nier series, Zero is possibly the one with the more questionable background. Being born in poverty, her earliest memories were of abuse and neglect. She wasn't even given a name, and didn't even know what she looked like until her teenage years. Living alone with an abusive mother, she would experience countless beatings and yellings for the smallest of reasons, to a point where she lost all sensations of her back. When she was old enough, her mom sold her off to a brothel with other young girls. She admitted to not blaming her mother at all for the torment, saying that her mother was doing the best she could and was raising her the only way she knew how to. There she met another girl of around the same age. Since she didn't have a name to introduce herself with, the girl she met decided to give her the name Rose, because her eyes were of that color. As said before, she had no idea what she looked like, and admittedly she didn't care, so this was when she learned what color her eyes were. Rose then decided to call the girl Indigo, because that was the color of her eyes. Quick note, I will refer to Zero as Rose for the remainder of this video. Indigo did not plan to keep this friendship. One night, Indigo came up with the plan for them to steal from the brothel and escape. Rose believed they could accomplish anything working together. The plan was perfect. They stole the money and were going to meet with a man out of town and across the bridge on the far side of the river. But Rose was struck down. Indigo decided to leave with the man, a patron who was all over Indigo in the brothel. Rose was used to simply help carry out more money and was left for dead by the river. The pursuers caught up to Rose while the other two galloped off in a hurry. She was caught alone. A few months later, Rose was successful in her plan of escape. She believed her plan was a lot better than the one with Indigo, because this time, she killed everyone in their sleep. The procurers, their underlings, the women. It wasn't hard at all. Even with her meager strength, a little bit of poison thrown into the casks helped finish off the men who later ceased moving. There weren't even any pursuers. But something worse came. The bandits. She was captured and relieved of every coin she had. Though they spared her life, she was again stung with failure. She eventually found her chance to escape before they sold her back into prostitution. Deciding it would be better to no longer steal money, instead, only take what she needed. Rose wondered if it would have been better for her to meet a patron from the brothel. Then she remembered the one time she lived with a man. In a faraway town after escaping the brothel, she ran into one of the patrons. Instinctively, she wanted to kill him, since he would notice she was the only living person from the brothel. But for some reason, she decided not to. They started a life together. The man was a thief, and together they collected money with amusement. Their happiness together didn't last long. Rose got sick with a contagious illness that erodes from the body and eventually kills you. Fearing for his life, the man left her, even though she only had mild symptoms. He planned to sell her out because a bounty was placed on her. The man tried to tie her up in her sleep, but since Rose was a light sleeper thanks to her illness, she opened his gullet, and he died with confusion all over his face. Rose continued wandering alone, taking food and clothing wherever she went. She would murder the owners of the things she wanted, even the women and elderly. Constantly hearing, "Take the food and the money, just spare my life, please." She questioned why everyone made the same face when death was close. Maybe she looked the same way at Indigo. No, she never begged. Rose would kill because she believed everyone she stole from would one day seek revenge. There was no doubt the people she stole from hated her during their last moments, but they would never come after her with a knife. She would even be questioned to why she would kill and steal, with a simple response of, "Because I'm hungry." It was how Rose survived. She killed for whatever she wanted. But even after killing a lot of people just to satisfy her desires, she still didn't know why she would do it. Eventually reaching public awareness after her killings reached triple digits, with every town searching for the witch with eyes of Rose. Her illness did eventually lead to her downfall. She was captured while her symptoms started taking their toll. They whipped her until her skin was tattered and flesh split. They probably would have killed her if they had gotten her kill count right. Their tally came woefully short. She was chained up to die in the square, in the rain, along with 5 rebels that were sold out by one of their own. The girl next to Rose had her eyes pried open, and needles thrusted into each eye, with burns from a branding iron that reduced her palms and the soles of her feet to rotted, reeking flesh, and the joints of all 4 of her limbs ruined to the point where she could no longer turn in her sleep. The girl was determined to stay alive for her cause, saying, "We did what was right." Since the girl couldn't see, Rose used that to her advantage to stare at the girl without reservation. But her cough told the girl that Rose was not one of her friends. She asked Rose who she was and what her name was. Rose responded by saying that she didn't have a name. She didn't have anything. No coin, no house, no family or friends or lover. "All I have is this life, which is about to blink out along with everything else. I wound up with 0. Jack shit." Rose began laughing uncontrollably. She was struggling so hard to breathe. Maybe her next would be her last. The girl next to her stopped moving, and Rose was the last alive. The last to survive was to be burned alive with the bodies of the other 5. One of them bit her own tongue off when she heard that. Another was already dead when the bunch was dragged out to the square. Another died before the rain came, and the 4th during the downpour. But with this weather, maybe Rose would be buried alive instead. Well, she did have some solace in knowing that it would be fitting for her to die the worst in the end. Eerie filled Rose all at once, remembering what the girl said. What we did was right. Because it was. Rose hated the world. She had damned it in her mind for as long as she could remember. She felt the tremor of a scream in her throat, but something warm dribbled from her mouth. Blood, not a scream. She thought, "This fucking world is trying to kill me. That. Fuck the world. Fuck you all. Fucking die. Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you." All of a sudden, she noticed a flower, blossoming between her and the girl's corpse. She wasn't sure if it had always been there, but it was new to her, yet it was recognizable. The color was of her eyes. Maybe Rose was already dead, and it was a flower that grew in paradise, but heaven had nothing to do with her. It was probably a hallucination, but it's okay. She wanted to see it up close. She wanted to touch it. No one had ever given her a flower. Admittedly, she never wanted one. But this flower, she loved. She felt something constricting her sight. She wasn't able to shut her eyes, so she kept staring at the flower. Rose's life had been wasted, but the sight of the flower was not a terrible final thing to see. As its widening petals filled her field of vision, Rose greeted the flower with a quiet smile.